Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We'll go ahead and get this meeting started with a roll call vote. I am here, Miss Allen.
Here.
Mr. Palin.
Here.
Miss Naylor.
Present.
And Miss White. Absent. Meeting attendees and visitors, everybody's on the agenda. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting on March 14th, 2022. Is there any corrections or changes that anybody saw with those minutes? Hearing none, they'll stand as read. We'll go ahead, review of the claims are there. Kind of pay attention as we get committee reports. Start with GIS.
I
Gotta
have,
get close.
You can come up here and talk.
no, I'm good. I have been continuing to learn more about the portal setup and the server to try to make sure that Armageddon doesn't happen again. So that's an ongoing thing. We advertised for the GIS tech position. We have some interesting candidates, hopefully some good ones to interview next week or so. I did the mapping for Shady Oaks 2, which is a wind farm, so that the assessment office can get those assessed and get some revenue from that. I'm in the process of mapping some new subdivisions that are going to be annexed into the city down South Dixon by Road Ranger and kind of that area. And I've got some ongoing stuff with the NG 911 project. There's another upload due, and also with their Motorola system that they use currently for dispatch. So that's all I've got.
I have no questions.
Good morning. Am I close enough?
You're good.
All right. Well, as Carmen said, we had our advertisement out for the GIS tech person, and we plan on offering some pre-screens to some people this week and moving on from there. We had a good handful of applicants, so we're hopeful about that. For the clerical staff, we did have 2 full-time clerical staff that started in the last few weeks, so we're getting back up to speed on that. On Friday, we just mailed out our exemptions for annual renewals. So homestead exemptions for people that had received them last year. We sent out the blank forms to renew for this year. And there was a total of about 1,400 that we mailed out. About 1,000 of those were senior assessment freezes. And then we had the disabled person and disabled veteran exemptions that we mailed out. So starting this week, we're probably going to have heavy traffic coming in and calling into the office. So good timing that we've got a couple new staff and we are getting them trained on the exemptions and such to help deal with that extra flow in the office. Last week, I attended the Property Assessment Institute conference in Bloomington Normal. For that, I attended Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And Monday, Tuesday was educational breakout sessions that were hour-long sessions each. And for those, actually, Wendy and I hosted a session on wind and solar energy. When I say Wendy and I mean Wendy hosted, and I stood there and smiled and I helped her with the handouts and such, because Wendy really is the one that started the foundation of the wind statutes for Illinois. So, but I was there to assist on that one. And then Wendy also took part in a panel on women in government on Tuesday. That was, well, actually, I think I got that backwards. One of them was Monday, one of them was Tuesday. It's all a blur now. But she was a part of that women in government panel that I sat in on for one of my breakout sessions that was very educational and interesting. So at that IPAI conference, Monday night was a banquet dinner where Wendy was recognized for an award for outstanding achievement in property assessments for small jurisdiction. So that was a surprise to Wendy. And it was nice to recognize her. The criteria for that was assessment accuracy, innovation, collaboration, and ethics. So I think everyone can agree that Wendy has all of those things and really earned this award. It was a great night. We had a handful of people from Lee County attend to surprise her and support her in that. John Nicholson and his wife, Marilyn Shipper, Judy Truckenbrod, Dee Duffy and Chris Hinkle all came to support Wendy and surprise her. So that was a wonderful night to show our support for Wendy in that achievement award. Currently, back to the GIS world, we are looking at possibly using another vendor for the contractual work that we had signed a contract for extra help when we needed a little bit of extra help with GIS work. And we're looking at using a different vendor that might be a little bit, fit our needs a little bit better and more supportive for us. The vendor would be CloudPoint, and they just sent us an estimate. Their hourly cost would be the same or less than what we're paying the current vendor. And we just feel that the current vendor maybe is not providing the support that we had hoped for. So we're looking into getting some more information from CloudPoint and seeing if that might be a move for us to start using them instead. So there'll be more information to come on that. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Nancy.
Good morning. I have an update on what's going on in my election department. The girls are working very hard on tax extension and they're right on track with where they should be at this time. So that's a good thing. They're also working really hard on economic interests that are coming in because the deadline for that is May 1st. And then another layer to the election department is also they're working really heavily on the everything they need to do to get prepared for the primary election, which is June 28th. And that's all I have. Any questions? That's all I can say.
Thank you. Paul.
Good morning, thank you. So in the treasurer's office, we have mobile home tax bills that are out. They went out in March. They're coming in at a nice pace. We're a little bit ahead of last year. We also have claims that is working really well. I think with the claims committee, we cut checks every Thursday and that's been working fantastic. We haven't had any problems that I know of. Real estate tax, we're working and waiting with the election team. So we'll be ready for them when they have theirs done. And we are working through a cross training with the employees in the office and making sure everybody knows every operation so that if one were to be sick or leave, we'd be able to handle everything. So that's it.
Real quick on the claims, how many paid in vacations are we doing? Are we still tracking a very low number? Or?
Well, yeah, relatively low. A couple of weeks ago, we did have some of the sheriff's department had a credit card and 4 squad cars go through pay on vacation. And then just this morning, the maintenance team has a truck vehicle that was purchased that went through pay on vacation. They don't have to. Those are easy things to do to go through claims. You just input your claim, make sure it goes through the claims committee, which is once every 2 weeks, and then we can cut a check. But the thing with the vehicles though, I guess is what they're saying is, hey, the vehicle's here, it's ready to go. They need a check as soon as they can. So instead of waiting the possible 2 weeks process, they put it through on pay on vacation.
And all those vehicles were budgeted.
All budgeted,
We
all
knew that they
budgeted.
were coming. So
Yeah, all budgeted, went through capital, so not a problem.
any additional questions for Paul? Nancy, you're good. Chris.
Good morning. I hope a copy of my report was in everyone's paperwork. It's an extensive report. I'll try and hit some highlights. So we're moving pretty quickly. We did finish all of our inspections of all the schools. Finally, it was a busy year this year, and we get asked all the time. I know we have 24 school districts, but it's actually 73 school buildings that we personally go through every year, along with the fire marshal's office, to make sure that the buildings are safe for our students and our educators. And we also work with the districts. The districts have to have everything that they need to get done, that they want to use their health, life, safety funds. They have to have in a 10-year plan that's on file with our office and then down through ISB. So we've been working with engineers and architects to make sure districts get those plans up to date, because they do have to be in there, the things that they want to use that funding on in order to get completed. We also, I get asked all the time, like, how are we sure that the schools are teaching what they're supposed to be teaching and doing what they're supposed to be doing? That is a compliance process. We have 24 school districts, and every 4 years we work with a district for them to upload evidence of that they're meeting all state requirements and school law, school code requirements. And we average 6 districts a year, because it's every 4 years. So we're on a cycle, and we are in the process of wrapping that up here in May with the 6 districts that we've been working with. So it's been going pretty well. It's an extensive system, but it's a new computerized system that works very well. There's an update on there for our professional development department for you to read through. We're very excited. I know I've said several times that if the federal government or state government's willing to offer money to our 3 counties to help our schools, we're always going to seek that and put in for it. I'm proud to say that we did win another big grant from the state of Illinois, the community partnership grant that's in my report. It's going to bring in around $170,000 a year for 2 years. We put some information in your packet about the purpose of the grant, our goals for the grant, and the objectives for that grant. So we'll be working hard on that. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me, and I'll go over further in depth. Couple of trainings that we had. We just had a big social emotional summit back at SAUC. We had 60 educators enroll, and it was phenomenal. Excited to be back in person after all we've been through the last 2 years. So it was great to see people back in person and see their faces and collaborate with them. And the training went very, very well. We also have an early childhood summit coming up on April 25th. That's going to be at Sauk Valley Community College that we're looking forward to. And then the big news is we've been part of the Pathways grant through the state of Illinois for the last 3 years. And we've had a focus in our area working along with Sauk Valley Community College and a number of our school districts on 3 areas that we're deficit in here in the 3 counties. And that is, we need more educators, we need more people in manufacturing, and we want to grow agriculture too. So we've been focusing on those partnerships with Sauk and our school districts on how to get students interested in those 3 careers. The career education career pathway has been going very, very well. And we're having our first big summit on April 29th at Sauk Valley Community College. That's in your packet. And we're excited. The state superintendent herself, Carmen Ayala, is coming to be the keynote speaker. We're going to have a ton of people there. There's going to be activities for the students, and we're going to be recognizing, I believe, 8 students who are going to graduate this year with that educator pathway endorsement, which basically they're graduating with 6 credit hours done in education already that will go towards Sauk or any other college that they would start at, and some other things that they've earned along with completing 60 hours of actually doing the job in education, working with educators and doing that internship. So we're excited about that, and you'll see a lot of that coming up in the news, and I think that will be very successful and hopefully get even more students interested in going to education as a career. Update on our regional school for change over in Thome. We are full. We don't like that we're full. We're going to work on some plans to hopefully make some more space next year. We don't have any more classrooms. We've reached our max at that location, but we do have plans to maybe add a couple students to each classroom and hire some additional staff. And there's an update on the 2 new staff members that we just hired. We have a new administrative assistant, Ashley Myers, that has already started, and we hired a new paraprofessional, Mandy Johnson, who'll be starting in May. We're excited about that. Nexus it's just amazing. We have all of our districts that signed up last year enrolled again. We also have some new districts, and you can see in my printout, we have a number of Whiteside schools that have enrolled. AFC, Amboy, and Paw Paw for Lee County have enrolled. We also have a meeting with Dixon Public Schools to talk to them about their interest, and then you can see the number of schools that we have from Oregon. We at the end of my report, I'll talk a little bit about the state budget. We were fortunate to get some more funding from the state that will help with that program. We're excited about that. And again, I want to thank Lee County for helping us get it off the ground last year with that funding we got from the rescue plan. So we're going to be good there with funding moving forward with the districts and the state funding. And it's going so well. I have a number of regional superintendents reaching out to me wanting to know how we did it and how they can get it going. So at our May meetings in Springfield, we're actually going to be presenting to the rest of the regional superintendents across the state on our Nexus program and how we got it going and what it's been doing for our families. So I'm excited about that. Maybe help them get it going in their 3 counties. There's an update in there on our Parents as Teachers program. You can see that we've been very, very busy. Also wanted to highlight Liz Castillo, one of our employees who works very hard. We have 10 families right now who speak Spanish solely as their first language, and we have 1 who speaks Portuguese. And Liz is our bilingual support specialist with Parents as Teachers, and is handling all those families and doing a great job with that. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to her. Our education outreach program that we have continues to. Beth Hubbard just does a great job. People get a hold of her, she gets them enrolled, and we had 2 more people graduate and get there. It's going to be changing now. There's a new law. We're not calling it high school equivalence anymore. It'll be Illinois State Diploma, which I think is great. And the students will be able to know that they're earning their Illinois State high school diploma, and will be able to, when they go to apply for jobs, will be applying if they earned their Illinois State high school diploma. So we're happy about that change. There's an update on there on our homeless department and the funding that they have and what they're working on. And then again, a short blurb on truancy. We've been really, really busy. We have 285 chronic truants out of 684 students right now. We typically end referrals beginning of April because our caseload is just at the point where we're not going to be able to do much with any new referrals that come in. And we're going to continue to work with Truancy and Nexus together to see how we can hopefully provide some relief there and get to the point where we don't have as many truants and students are doing better in school. A couple other things I just wanted to update you on. I mentioned the state budget. We're very excited. Our office gets about $120,000 a year from the state to run our whole entire office. So we, along with what the 3 counties give us and that money, it's been pretty tight for a long time. And the governor finally proposed, and it looks like if he signs it, it looks like the budget is passed. It's going to increase that line item for us pretty substantially for the first time in a long time, which will be nice for us. And also the 1% sales tax bill passed. The only person that was fighting it was the Illinois Department of Revenue. If I've mentioned that before, we have sales tax in Lee County and in Whiteside County that goes to our schools. And the Illinois Department of Revenue sends us one big check quarterly, and then it's up to us. Our office does all the work. We have to figure out based on student enrollment. It's a big process. We do all those checks, and by statute, the Illinois Department of Revenue has kept 2% of our tax money for what they call administrative fees. So all we did is we asked and said, hey, we're doing a lot of the work here, most of the work. Can we get that 1%? So Department of Revenue, you can keep 1%. The regional offices should get 1% for all the work they do. And it passed both the House and Senate unanimously. I assume the governor will assign it. And I went back and did some looking at our sales tax for the last 5 years. So average year, that's going to be about $71,000 of additional income for our office to help fund Nexus and our other programs. Not going to affect anyone. It was money that Department of Revenue was keeping anyway. So it's no cost to the taxpayers or to the schools. So that'll be great for us. We're always looking to try and make sure we have secure funding. And then the last update I have is well, I think I've said this before, we do have a lease with the diocese in our current facility through June 30th of 2023. We will be there, but we have already started the process of looking for a new location. We've just outgrown it. And I've already talked to Newman and the diocese about it. They understand there's just nowhere else to go and we have to find a location. So by statute, the 3 county boards have to approve that move. So we're starting to look for locations, and I will be informing the county board through the whole process of what we think will be best. I'm 95% sure we're going to end up in Dixon or Sterling, one of the two, because those are our best locations. Dixon would obviously be centrally located for the 3 counties, and Sterling has a lot of properties that are available for a good price too. So I will keep the board appraised. Any questions on my report?
Thank you, Chris. I believe everybody got the IT report here this morning from Paul.
Elaborate on a couple things, Chris, on the IT report, I mean. Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. So
you could have had this on your agenda and should actually have been formally acting upon it, but we were still pulling information together up until even over the weekend. So quick couple heads up on things that the IT department's working on. You may or may not have heard that the court system applied for and received a grant for about $82,000 worth of technology equipment. And there is a timeline for getting that installed. Timeline was through the end of June, so June 30th. So there's a lot of laptops and monitors and et cetera that need to be installed. And so the IT department has been very busy trying to get that all implemented prior to that deadline. The second thing that really could have or should have come before this committee is the idea of relocating the key or primary servers from where they're at, scattered all over this county, all over county buildings, to one secure location. So there's a proposal to do that right now. That secure location that's been identified is over in the courts building, what I refer to as the original courts building. Everybody refers to it as the second floor, but I think of it as the basement of the original courts building. The location is immediately below where most of the server equipment is right now in the courts building, which is in the circuit clerk's office. So there are some costs to the tune of about $26,000 in cost to move those servers to that location immediately below. This is a long-term strategic plan on the part of the IT department, however, so I think it's a key thing to do now. For example, right now, the servers that exist right now are located within the circuit clerk's office, which doesn't make it real conducive for IT staff to get in and out of there in off hours, outside business hours. That's number one. Number two, we are looking at ultimately relocating at least the majority of, if not all of, the IT department in the courts building, because that's where the majority of our employees exist, and that's where the majority of a lot of the equipment exists. And so this space where this new server room will go will be immediately adjacent to where the future home of the IT department would be. It's currently occupied by a lot of different people, but in part by maintenance. Maintenance, you may have heard, is looking at relocating into the former LEC with some renovations. So there's a little bit of a game of chess going on here with moving parts and locations, but this is a key part of it. And so you'll be seeing that come forward on your full board agenda, assuming that finance passes and approves this expenditure of about $26,000 for equipment. This also very much dovetails in with the plan that we adopted in January. You all agreed to allow us to hire a third-party vendor to manage the critical infrastructure of data and switches and backups and security. This is a part of that process also, that relocation. The process of managing all of that will be much more efficient for both in-house staff and this third-party vendor if we can consolidate it into a single location. Whereas again, right now, we've got a lot of stuff scattered in a lot of different places. We're trying to bring it all home to one place, or at least most of it. There are some things we won't be able to consolidate. Anyway, that'll be moving forward on the agenda. It'll be on finance because we couldn't get it on your agenda in time. And so we're hoping for approval of that. Back for a minute to the $82,000 worth of grant equipment that was purchased and is being implemented. Through that process, as a part of that process, we discovered that when the buildings were all the data cables and switches were replaced a couple of years ago in this building and that building, that we ended up with a couple of switches that were filled. In other words, there's no place to literally plug in. So we need a couple extra switches for that process over there. Part of what that $82,000 in equipment is going to be buying us is some wireless printers in all the courtrooms, as an example. Bottom line is we need to have some additional switches. The switches are give or take just a hair under $10,000. So 2 requests coming forward from IT this month, to finance and then ultimately to the board if finance approves, and that is $10,000 for additional switches to be able to activate that new equipment over there. And last but not least, that $26,000 approximately to be able to relocate servers over there. And again, part of the strategic long range plan for the IT department. I think that covers what Paul had in his report, Chris. Thank you.
So why can't the 10,000 be pulled out of that 82,000 in grant?
Because when they applied for the grant, they had to specify and there's a very specific list of what they were getting for that, and that time has passed.
Okay.
Did we ever follow up with, Paul? I know I did it. I forgot after the last meeting with the probation department, the data conversion.
I haven't talked to Stacy in the last 2 weeks, but prior to that, I had chatted with her and it was moving along. The third-party vendor that's helping her convert the data did finally get the access that they need. And so as far as I know, that is chugging along good. I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay.
Any additional questions for anybody in the room? Charlie, do you have anything? You're good.
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
John, did you have anything?
No.
You're here. Okay. Moving on to old business, COVID. We had 3 people for 3 days off. So definitely trended down. New business, note taking for the bid process. This was put on here by Mr. Olson and myself. But after further discussion, we're actually already have kind of a plan in place. So the bid process, we take notes during the bid process and the opening. It's the discussion afterwards of who you're approving and so on and so forth that's already happening as well. So after we went through it one time, we figured out that we really didn't need this on. So unfortunately, it ended on the agenda, even though there's nothing to discuss. Ukraine donation discussion. This is brought up in ARPA, and Mr. Sheeline has not gotten around to working with United Way or whichever vendor he wants to go through to do that. So there's really no discussion now per what we wanted. So we probably want to table that for next month. So I'll entertain a motion to table that. Ms. Naylor, Ms. Allen.
I would just like to request that somehow we make sure that whoever we use is somebody that doesn't take 98% of the donation for their own costs and only 2% goes. to
Yep, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of moving parts there. I've heard good feedback on it, not so good feedback on it, but I think there's a lot of moving parts there. So just right now, until we figure out who the vendor is that we're going to use to facilitate the money, just an update then. So we'll table that. All in favor?
I-
Anybody opposed? Good bill. Quarterly employee spotlight. Everybody should have had this emailed to them. It is.
You got it out
Do you
there.
have paper?
I do.
So
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I put them back under there, so the permissions are just.
Wendy deletes them, Becky adds them, Wendy deletes them, Becky adds them. Everybody get a chance to look at it, though, because what.
No.
that'd be great.
So I think everybody agrees that we have a lot of great employees. What we were hoping to do with the Employee Spotlight Program is to be able to recognize some that are extraordinary. So we were looking for nominations for individuals that have gone above and beyond what their normal job dictates. And we were looking for some very specific examples of what that extraordinary action or actions were. And I can tell from the applications that we got that everybody comes from a great place of enthusiasm and appreciation of our employees, but some submit applications that are much more detailed than others. So I told Chris the other day that I think what I have to do to the department heads and those individuals that are nominating is to let them, communicate to them that oftentimes they know how good the employee is, but it matters if you communicate that to this group right here who is trying to make those decisions, because you may not know those individuals that have been nominated. So let's just say that some of the nomination forms that came in were very minimal in terms of, sharing. So they nominated someone, but they gave us very minimal information. That's on me. I'm going to go back at the next department head meeting and just remind people that you may know how wonderful they are, but you need to communicate that to this committee so they can make an informed decision. So with that said, we also need to talk about, Chris, and I'll let you lead that discussion. Last time we had 3 individuals that were nominated. We had one that was Lori Miller, who we felt should be the honorary first one because we kind of initiated the whole program based on, how we felt that she had gone above and beyond. So we ended up last time doing 3. There's no rules about how many we have to do. I don't know if you have any thoughts going forward. I don't know that you want to get in the practice though of giving this to everybody that gets nominated, or if you do want to start talking about maybe putting a limit on this, I'm going to leave up to this committee.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key there is it's not just for showing up at 9 o'clock and doing your job till 4. This is to be specific above and beyond of the specific examples of, hey, I went above and beyond for this constituent or this change in a policy here. And because we do have multiple people this month, we decided to go to a ballot kind of format because I think we want to limit it to 3. Right? Every month, that's what we kind of had in the back of our mind, like, is it quarterly? So you have what's in front of you. You have vote for 1. We vote for more than 1 or?
Yes, because we had
Yeah.
when I did this, so pay no attention to where it says that.
So,
And I want to do all the talk about that.
yeah, and so the reason for it, you can see, we want it kind of to be a surprise for everybody who could be involved. And we also don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by having a conversation. So that's why we've seen it in an email. And that's why we're doing it by paper ballot here today. So I would encourage, my recommendation anyways, is to vote for up to 3, but I open it up to the committee for discussion and go from there.
And again, my apologies for recognizing leading ad. I didn't do that either. I'm not I would take the video and get it back.
One thing that I did bring up to Wendy is calling it employee spotlight and maybe use the employee spotlight to just spotlight an employee every month of what they do for board members to get to know the people that work within the county. It's just, this is what they do. This is who they are. This is things that they like outside of work. Because to your point, 9 to 4 may not be going over and beyond, but we need that person from 9 to 4, right? So more of just a spotlight of employee of what they do. And then having something else that is really more overachieving, maybe calling it, legend of the month or.
And I know we talked about that. We decided to go quarterly just from a work submission
Right.
standpoint
Yep.
at this point.
So Danielle's idea was that we just literally randomly, nobody has to apply, nobody has to nominate. We just literally take all the employees, put them in a pot, randomly drop in the hat, and once a month at least do, here's in Susie Q, and this is the office she works in, and this is what she does for that office, and here's a little bit about, she has 3 kids or whatever. So because Chris, I think your original intention to do this was to, you felt there was a disconnect between the employees and the board, and you want to gap that and or bridge that gap. And I think that's exactly where Danielle's going, is maybe we don't even need to do all the time a nomination process. Just draw a name out of the hat and spotlight them.
Yeah, absolutely. There is, and I've met with deputies and different board members or different employees, and there is at one point they felt like county board members were off limits. You couldn't go and talk to a county board member as an employee, and we're just people just like everybody
Right.
else, and so it's trying to bridge that gap in my mind. So
Well, and getting to know what each department does. I mean, I think we all have somewhat of an idea, and the department heads do a great job of, what their monthly report. But just getting to know the people that work in the departments, as they make decisions, understanding these are people that come to work every day. The county wouldn't exist without them,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Just getting to know who those people are outside of, their day-to-day job, what they do, how they impact it, and their personal life, but then recognizing the people that go over and beyond with that type of a nomination, the quarterly, because you do want to recognize people that
went
Don't
above and
just-
beyond. Yep.
yeah.
So let's work on something like that for next month.
I'd be happy to.
And we'll come back to the committee with a recommendation there as to an employee spotlight for every month and how we're gonna maybe go about doing that. I think that's a great idea. As far as this goes, I'm open to what anybody suggests. Like, I know who, I read all the things, so I know who I'm gonna vote for and I know how many I'm voting for. So it's entirely up to you guys what you want to do to go there. So I think we probably should vote here today so that way we can
Agreed.
compile.
Yep.
And then move it on to executive.
I think it's a great idea, but if we're gonna do this quarterly, pretty soon we're gonna run out of people to spotlight.
Oh, we have 200 employees roughly in the county. That would take us, 15 years.
Well, what I would say too, Bill, is that if we do develop the spotlight program as, as Danielle is describing here, is that maybe we do go back to the extraordinary person, but it's a 1 per quarter, we limit it because we're still getting to bridge that gap in another direction with the employee spotlight. So maybe we can be more restrictive going forward with the extraordinary person. Just a thought.
Department heads, do you guys have any comments on this? Like, you guys are the ones who see the interaction with the county board and your employees every day. What are your opinions? And I know, Paul, you got one, so.
Yeah, I would love to see county board members maybe even stop in our office just to understand what we do. I'll take the treasurer's office, right? Obviously, we collect the real estate taxes and we're doing things with checks and vendors and things of that and payroll. But just to come in, say hello, get to know, a couple of the, anybody that's in the office is a great interaction between the county board members and the employees. And they do look to you as leaders. Believe me, they do. So when a leader takes the time to say hello to the employees and kind of get to know them, I think it adds a layer that it's an intangible that you can't see.
I have to agree with Paul. I don't know if you want to call it a field trip or whatever, after.
I'm
the
always about
meeting,
field trips.
right? And come down to my office and then maybe the next month go to Jen's office and just meet our employees, plus then just get a general, idea of exactly what goes on in those offices day to day. I think it would mean just a huge amount to our employees, because I have to agree with Paul. They do look up to county board members. They really do.
I agree with both of them about, stopping in, saying hello. They hear secondhand from me about things happening up here in the meetings, and it'd be nice to put some faces with the names and have some one-on-one interaction and see that you guys are, interested at the ground level, what's going on in our office. I think that would be great, just to stop in and say hello. I think I've heard you talk about that before, Chris, is, having a county board member, someone from admin, kind of assigned from each, to come through. And I think that would be great.
Chris, I wholeheartedly agree with all three of you. Private industry, public industry, or just courtesy. What they do and who they are, and so on and so forth. How that's viewed in the most best. You're just too far away.
No, it actually, since I've talked to all 3 county boards about our conditions just being cramped at our location, it's been great. Chris came out, toured our office. I've had 4 Whiteside County board members come out to our office and 1 Ogle County. So it's great. I mean, I know it's outside of Lee County right now because we're in Sterling, but it's been great having the board members stop by and learn a little bit more about everything we do. And we're up to just over 41 full-time employees now, just at our organization. So it's great. And Wendy has said that I can nominate any of our employees for the award here. So that's great. So we'll be nominating some in the future.
Any jokes, Bill?
Oh,
So do you think that the award should be over and beyond, or just use it truly as an employee spotlight?
I love your idea, because like you said, each one of our employees has, enough to obviously get to know them, but then also they have a history that you would not have any idea that some of the girls in my office have been with the county for 15 years. You know, that kind of thing, you know, or they've, you know, they're just recently new and are excited about being here. But I love that idea also that you came up with.
You have to have, I said to Wendy, you have to study Eddies. Without them, you still can't succeed, right? So just
Absolutely.
Because somebody, comes in 9 to 5, they're working hard 9 to 5 and doing their job,
Absolutely.
right? And you still want to recognize people that are going over and beyond.
So I apologize for the sidebar conversation over here, you guys. So Charlie has expressed a concern, and probably rightfully so, that we maintain our Open Meeting Act not violate the Open Meetings Act. So the paper ballot probably it's certainly making him uncomfortable, and I hadn't thought about it. So
Paper ballot.
so discard the paper ballot. But I will tell you that we did this with the idea.
I fixed.
We did this, but part of the idea was that individuals that maybe don't get selected here today the idea is to boost the morale of employees, not to tear them down. So I don't want anybody to feel like they were nominated and then not selected and then they're disappointed. So that was my intention with the paper ballot. But I also don't want to violate the Open Meetings Act. So with that said.
And on that note, I just thought of something. We could also maybe look at also like next month, Jen could bring an employee up to the meeting with her and introduce that person to you guys. So
Maybe that's what, that allows it on a rotating basis for all of us here to introduce people. So we'll
Yeah,
come
I
up
like
with an
that.
idea here with Wendy and I, and we'll transcend that out to the
I do
team.
like
So.
that idea.
I do too. I like.
right, and unfortunately, Paul only has a few employees, so he'd be done sooner. But anyway, but yeah, just rotating it month to month, and bring your employee to the meeting.
Paul's just gonna keep talking about himself.
Both ways, they hear what happens, right? Like, I mean.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because like you said, they don't have a lot of time. They're not going home and pulling up YouTube to actually know what's going on in the meeting that, I go to every once a month at 9 o'clock.
Right. So you want to just make them, I know. How do you guys want to go? You want to take it individually? Does anybody want to make a motion? I know the top person on the list, I would like to wait 1 month or 1 quarter on personally. There's some stuff that's going on there.
And
Just
we're doing
Top
3.
person on the list.
the top person on the
Are we
list.
doing 3?
You can do,
Charlie is.
I'm only going to nominate 2 people in my ballot. I'm going to nominate Chris and Lee.
Oh. I was doing Brandy and Stephanie.
And so like Brandy, when I read through hers, like I thought it was just doing the job, right? Like,
Right, and that's where I'm struggling, like, but I think we just have to set a precedence of what we're looking for.
I think it's about going above and beyond. And when I read the other
Yep.
2, it was for me much more.
I would agree. I'm just not sure that everybody understands.
And that's
that.
where Wendy's going to
Right.
explain that more to the
So-
department heads. So that's why and I also like the fact that Chris and Lee are also married. And so if we gave it to them on the same
Oh.
month, I thought that would be kind of a cool gesture. So I'll make a motion. You want to keep track of this?
Oh, sure. I can do that.
Since she's not here, I'll make a motion to nominate Chris and Lee Gullett for employee of the spotlight ballot, employee of the spotlight for this quarter.
I'll second that.
Ms. Allen, is there any further discussion? Do we want to nominate anybody else, or like I said, I know I read through it and
They're all, I mean.
They're all
that's
good. It's just-
I mean, it's hard for us to
Mhm.
judge because of.
So I think a lot of it comes back to the department heads of, they have to tell the story of their employee, and that's what we need to stress more. So all those in favor of those 2 individuals? Yes,
Yeah.
myself is first, Alan is a second.
Sorry, I didn't hear the second either.
Yeah.
All those in favor of moving those 2 people on to executive, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Fantastic. Motion carries. We'll move those 2 on to the ballot or onto executive. We have no executive session. Nope. Anybody need anything else for the good of the cause?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Miss Allen, Miss
Second.
Naylor, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We don't want to, that's all right.
Thank you.